Michelle Constant on SAFM.
This week, the Time of the Writer was shut down in KwaZulu-Natal, eThekwini. And of course, you know that eThekwini or Durban is a UNESCO site of literature. So it seems appropriate that whether it's been shut down or not, we talk to two authors who were really part of Time of the Writer as well. On the line, we've got Refiloe Moahloli. Refiloe, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Michelle.
You know, I spoke to you offline, and one of the things that you were saying to me was that the whole isolationist thing of coronavirus is, in fact, something that many young authors have to do anyway, where they have to sit down and write in a lonesome space. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, and particularly for me personally, the past 2 months, that's what I've actually been doing. It's really writing, at least for me, it's such a personal thing. I have to go within the depths of, what's going inside me, my emotions, my feelings, what it is that I'd like to share with the world. And really, a lot of the time, I need to be alone to do that.
Yeah.
So almost the isolation, there's a part of it that's kind of like my norm for the past, I don't know, however I've been alive. There's an introversion to being a writer.
Before we actually get on to your actual books, I did recently read an article about listening to music while you work. Do you listen to music whilst you write?
Yes, I do. And sometimes I even watch some shows on TV, any other kind of storytelling, whether it's music or shows or read other books in the midst of writing. I think it's just being in that, in another creative space kind of spurs on my own creativity. So yeah, listening to music is quite a big one. I do that quite a bit.
Let's talk about the fact that you write a lot of books for young people and children. And I wondered if it was having children in your family that made you want to do that. When you write, are you writing for specific children?
Absolutely. So my first book was very specific. So my brother's kids, who I've been around them from when they were still babies. So for me, it was like my first little taste of a form of a mother, really, being their aunt. And I was witnessing their experiences in the world from when they were babies just living at home, and that transition between being at home and moving into the world, which was for them starting nursery school. So that's where the inspiration for How Many Ways Can You Say Hello, which was the first book I ever wrote, was really, for me, I was, quite passionate about them, even if they go into the world still keeping that piece of who they are, and also sharing it with other kids. And really that book is about, kids coming from different backgrounds, but sharing who they are with each other and learning from each other, hence learning all the ways to say hello in South Africa. So that's what started my journey on writing for kids. It was for those specific kids, but what happened was, it not only resonated with them, it resonated with so many children, but also I think my inner child as well. So I did a lot of research before I kind of completed that story, and I wrote it. Read a lot of children's books, and I think in doing that, I kind of fell in love with the space, and it just kind of clicked. It just kind of felt like actually this is where I was always meant to be.
So your book, Yes, Younger, was the one that at the Time of the Writer you were going to be doing a live reading for youngsters for. Tell us a bit about that specific book.
Oh, yes. And again, so that one, I love cricket. I'm a huge Proteas fan. Yeah. And when I was younger, we used to play a game called, in Xhosa we called it Tritoti. It's 3 turns, Bachi. There's so many names for it. And I love that game. And while I was watching cricket, and there's all these discussions about, transformation in the game, and I kind of had this curiosity as to what sport, even if it wasn't formally cricket, like what game or what sport would we have played when we were kids that uses the same skill that cricket uses now, and how that game could have prepared a child to actually be really good in cricket.
Yeah.
And that's where the inspiration for Yes Younger came from, because this child starts out by playing three tins. He's a three tins champion in his community. And, he has a friend that picks up that, this game kind of uses the same skills that cricket uses. There's so many similarities.
Yeah.
And then from there, he ends up going to play cricket. So the focus of the story really is how it's more about the spirit of the child that matters, and that's what can get them to be successful in whatever they do. Everything else, the formalities are just, like technicalities, but actually it's the nature of the child within that builds them up for success.
Refiloe, as I listen to you talk, I'm thinking, okay, you are creating books for young people and for children, but in the same way, you are also documenting our heritage and our heritage of play.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a rich heritage, because we have such a rich heritage in this country. We have so much diversity, and that is our strength, So a lot of the stories that I write have some link to who we are and where we are in our country, and kind of bringing that into the modern world. And the aim really is that our kids don't lose that, and on top of that we don't lose it as their parents, as the people who are guardians to them and are responsible for their growth, that they don't lose out on the richness that we experienced growing up.
We're talking to the author Refiloe Moahloli. She is an author. She is specifically an author at this point of children's books, many books. How many ways can you say hello? Yes, Younger, Yeke Younger. She's also the aunt to nieces and nephews who I'm sure drive you, Refiloe, into coming up with all sorts of crazy ideas. Do they think their aunt is like pretty part of the team, or how do they see you?
So, for one thing, I'm really short and small in stature, so they kind of do see me as part of them. I love to play. I've always loved to play, and that's the language of the child, really, just playing.
Yeah.
And I think they just appreciate that, and it helps us to relate. And the fact that I write children's stories, I write for them, about them. It's just acknowledging their importance and that they have a voice. So they share a lot of their thoughts with me, and I'm always fascinated by the wisdom that resides in children. I think there's so much wisdom in their purity and innocence. So I always have fun with them.
It's so interesting that you say that you love to play. And yesterday I was having a conversation with someone, and she was just saying how important play was for adults as well. And I'm wondering if the time hasn't come for you to write some playful books for us as adults.
Well, I actually think so. Yesterday I experienced my brother painting with my nieces.
Yeah.
And so the joy was kind of spread all around. Yes, they were really happy to be in that free space.
Yeah.
But he was also just so overjoyed. So, absolutely, because we all have an inner child within us. Our inner child didn't go away just because our bodies got bigger. So in us playing as adults, we actually get in touch with that inner child, and which helps us get more in touch with our children, which, makes a happier space, a happier world all around. So it's very important. I think that's a good idea.
Refiloe, in closing, we are obviously in a case where a lot of people are self-isolating. Many people are going to end up in quarantine as well. Children are staying at home. Schools have closed. And I'm wondering if you could just maybe give some suggestions to what parents could think about when they spend time with their children. I think we've got a whole new respect for teachers who have to deal with kids every single day.
Yeah. So I have seen a lot of, suggestions online and all of that. So it's so great that people are putting that out there. But a lot of children's authors, including myself, I'll also be doing a live Facebook stream of my book. A lot of children's authors are offering that. And I think that's the way to do it, to kind of look at how do we have fun together? Reading will always be one of the main things because you can get lost in stories. That's never ending. And you can find stories online. You can play together, you can paint together. I think any creative activity normally can keep a child busy without even having to look at the time. So yeah, that's the way to do it, I think. Whether it's cooking or painting or whatever, dancing. I love dance parties personally. So yeah, I think the more creative, the better.
Finally, Mpho Kailicha wants to know, do you have any children's books written in Sesotho?
Not personally, because I write in isiXhosa. However, there's an organization, for instance, called the Book Dash, where I know they translate a lot of the South African stories. I think if you can look for these things online, you will find them. A lot of people are doing a lot of work to make sure books are available in all the different languages.
Refiloe Moahloli from Time of the Writer, but the author of the best-selling How Many Ways Can You Say Hello, and a variety of other children's books as well. And good question, Mpho from Kailicha. So, of course, go to Book Dash. You can go to Book Dash online or on Twitter, and you'll be able to find out about a variety of children's books that are A, translated, but B, written originally in a variety of languages as well.